Thanks for tuning in to the Diaphragm Dynasty. I'm back with another great topic. So, I'll be talking about the Channel Orange album from Frank Ocean, his debut solo album. Now, was this the greatest debut album from an R&B artist? Now, there's a lot of great debut albums, and it's difficult to compare this one because it was so different just from the content that he put out and the thought provoking that he did on, especially as an R&B artist. Most R&B artists is not really thought provoking, it's love provoking, it's love inducing, it's provoking from a standpoint of figuring out if somebody loved you or not. Frank Ocean's album was more than that. It was just about societal issues, it was about love as well, but it was about him coming out. It's about everything. It encompassed everything that you can and from a day-to-day perspective. Opposed to, most R&B is traditional R&B is set in that frame to where it's about love, love lost, love finding, unrequited love. Frank Ocean had all this in that first album. And that Nostalgia Ultra mixtape, which is rare to see an R&B artist do mixtapes, but which I have on cassette still. But it was rare for somebody to put out a mixtape like that because, it's usually a hip hop thing, mostly a hip hop thing. That's where it originated. But that Nostalgia Ultra album gave him a lot of great momentum into this album, this Channel Orange album. And I was introduced to Frank's music back in 2011 from that Nostalgia Ultra album. He had another mixtape too, which was unclassified, so to speak, or uncredited for him. But it was the Lonnie Bro, I believe it's Lonnie Bro, but it had like 80 different songs, and it had songs that he written for other people, like the John Legend and Brandy song that he had quickly, some other things. But it had that Acura Integral on there as well. But it had a lot of different great music. But back that Piff was around. Let's piece of that Piff. That's the album I downloaded off there back when I was in college back in 2011. Great hits on that mixtape, but nevertheless, Frank had a weird combination of R&B and hip hop on this album. Just being able to mix both worlds, and it makes sense because being with coming from that Odd Future camp with Tyler the Creator and others, he had hip hop pedigree to him because he can rap still as well. But we know his thing was singing, and he had a beautiful voice to sing. So, but this content was definitely different than your typical R&B singer. He made me look at R&B differently because I only seen R&B from one way. But he brought a neo soul, pop, rock, rap, all of that stuff into one and made it R&B, which was unique to do. But he definitely made me look at R&B from a different perspective, not just from Nostalgia Ultra, but from Channel Orange and going, forward to Blonde as well. But this album was way better than I anticipated, and I instantly fell in love with the album because it's not a lot of skips on this album. Very great singing. Frank Ocean also introduced me into the falsetto. Really, it was probably Maxwell, but I didn't realize what it was when he was doing it on This Woman's Work. But um, Thinking About You is one of the greatest songs from a falsetto ever. I definitely have to have that debate as far as falsettos goes, going all the way back to Marvin Gaye and moving all the way up to Frank Ocean. You have to think about the falsettos and how great it does for R&B and for range and just creating variety in your singing. But um, interesting fact that I found out about this Channel Orange album was it was written in only 2 weeks. So imagine if he did it in more time, but he was just that great of an artist. But unfortunately, he's not that active. But I'll cover him as a songwriter as well because he's a prolific songwriter. Even though, I believe he still has ways to go as far as writing for more people. But nevertheless, when he writes a song for you, it's going to be a hit. Whether it, commercially successful, it might be something different. But as far as a great B side or whatever it's intended to do, it's going to definitely do that if Frank Ocean's behind that pen. Um, and also, there's another debate if Thinking About You is one of the best songs of the decade. Now, this, from 2010 to 2020, is it one of the best songs, period, not just R&B, but, in other genres as well, because that song is known by various demographics and respected by various demographics to where it's an undeniable hit to where people have to love it despite if they love your culture or your people, they still have to love the song because it's just that great. Similar to what Coolio had with Gangsta's Paradise. The production was so good, the flow was so good that they can't really deny it, even if they try to. But he showed his vocal range and he showed his incredible writing skills on this album. Um, like I said before, next to Maxwell, Frank Ocean has one of the better falsettos in history. Now you have to put Marvin Gaye in there as well. But as far as the album goes, Sierra Leone has the best neo soul feel, very soulful on the album, very thoughtful as well. Sweet Life, which is a Pharrell track talking about luxurious living and things like that. But it was a very good song as well, just from him singing and his pen showing the diversity in his pen to be able to rap about braggadocio type of stuff as well as the love stuff as well. Um, Super Rich Kids, the same thing. He kind of got into that braggadocio bag of being flashy and talking about the things that he likes to obtain as far as clothing and fancy living. But I think Crack Rock on this album probably is the best lyrical performance that he had. I was thinking about you probably was the best vocal performance, but lyrically, Crack Rock was a very good lyrical song and it's a unique title. So when I heard it, I didn't know what the song was going to be about, but he was just talking about the negative effects of crack rock in the community and what people perceive you as if you've done that, which is a unique perspective from him and really didn't fit what everything else on the album was. But I definitely liked the song and I think it had a place on the album, but it was just different content from what was on the rest of the album. Pyramid, which was a 10-minute song. Usually I'm not too much of a fan of 10-minute songs. I know Joe Budden had a 10-minute song called 10 Minutes, and I was a fan of it just because it was 10 minutes and artists wasn't doing that back then. But, you know, 10 minutes of singing, it seems kind of, exhausting, especially for the singer, but for the listener as well. How many different lyrics can you give us in 10 minutes? That's equivalent to 3 songs, just about. So, but Pyramid was definitely a great song. And but one of the most controversial songs was probably Bad Religion. And that's him talking about unrequited love and self-reflection on, where he should be in life as far as that goes. And that's one of the songs that um, he came out to. 'Cause I remember before the album coming out and people doing reviews before we even heard the album, they were saying that he came out and he was using pronouns of he instead of she. So that's when people got a glimpse of what happened. But it was a very powerful song, very one of my favorite songs on the album. Just those unrequited love songs are some of my favorites. So I'm always a fan of those. So I can take those songs anytime. And then of course Pink Matter and Forrest Gump. Pink Matter was definitely stellar because anytime you put Andre 3000 and Frank Ocean together, you're gonna get great music. Especially on the Blonde album, they had the solo reprise with Andre 3000 just going solo for about a minute and a half or 2 minutes with great rapping. Another instance of why we need more Andre 3000's music. But these songs, Pink Matter and Forrest Gump's, he doubled down on his sexuality and the unrequited love piece. He never said who the other person was, and that was a big point of contention. People wanted to know, but nevertheless, great R&B classic album, one of the greatest debuts for an R&B album of all time. If you haven't tuned into it, definitely check it out to Channel Orange. Tune to Channel Orange, no pun intended. Well, pun intended. And as always, until next time, I'll see you next time.